To me, interior design and houseplants are two peas in a pod because many of us come to houseplants to bring life into our homes in an effort to make them more beautiful and comfortable. I like to say I came to houseplants for the aesthetic because plants are what seem to be the common thread of all the design magazines and articles and inspo that I was reading as I was curating my apartment in New York City. But I stayed with houseplants for the wellness and the joy that they brought me. But when you have a lot of houseplants and when you get that joy from houseplants and start collecting them and having a bunch of them, creating a cohesive, uncluttered interior can be harder than it looks. That's why I'm sitting down with interior design expert and my friend, Betsy, the founder of Uploft Interiors and the host of the Affordable Interior Design podcast today to discuss some basic interior design principles that we can tailor specifically for houseplant lovers. Welcome. Welcome to the Growing Joy with Plants podcast, where we not only learn how to care for plants successfully, but how to simply and affordably use our plant babies to cultivate more joy in our lives by doing so. I'm Maria, former plant killer turned happy plant lady, author of Growing Joy, the Plant Lover's Guide to Cultivating Happiness, speaker, podcaster, and most importantly, your new best plant friend. On Growing Joy with Plants, you'll find conversations about houseplant care, gardening tutorials, and wellness through the lens of plants. Plant care. Hello, plant friends. Welcome back to Growing Joy with Plants podcast. I'm Maria, and I'm here to help you care for plants and grow joy while doing so. If you're new, welcome. So happy you're here for this amazing episode. If you are returning, welcome home. So happy to have you and to be growing alongside you. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I suck at interior design. It does not come naturally to me. I do not have an eye for design. Everything you've seen on my website and my logos is not me. I hire people to help me with it, because I'm very creative, but I'm a big pick person and I often overlook details. And interior design in general is about the details. It's about the molding. It's about the pillows. It's about a lot of details that I don't see. And that's why I love my friend Betsy, our guest today, because she breaks down interior design into such simple rules and principles to go by. But we're coming at this conversation today about interior design and the principles of interior design through the lens of a houseplant lover. Because as you hear in this conversation, houseplant people who have large plant collections sometimes do have to break some interior design rules. But it's not just about breaking them. It's just about making them work for you. So I hope this episode is helpful. It's definitely a conversation about interior design and not plant care. But to me, they go hand in hand because the plants are inside. So let me know if you like this episode, if you want more episodes like this. Betsy is incredible. She has an amazing podcast called Affordable Interior Design. So definitely go make sure to check it out after we're done listening. After you're done listening to her on my show, go check out her show if you love interior design or if you're an interior design bonehead like me and you just need a lot of support. And if you like the show, please share it with a friend. I'd love it if you could take a second to pick your favorite episode of Growing Joy with Plants and send it to a friend who you think would love it. All right, without further ado, here's Betsy. Welcome back, Betsy. I'm so happy to have you again.
Thank you for having me back. I always love talking to you.
I love that we have like a real life friendship now outside of the podcast. And it started from our podcast collaboration. Is it 2 years ago you came on the podcast or 1 year? The matchmaking episode we did.
Over 2 years, I would guess.
Yeah, over 2 years ago you came and we did this really epic 90-minute interview on matchmaking, houseplants, and interior design styles. It was so amazing. And then you and I have remained in pretty constant contact from then on. And I'm so excited to have you back.
Yes, it is so amazing to make podcast friends because, as you know, it's such an insular experience to sit there and share your zone of genius with yourself over a microphone or with one other person that you're interviewing. So when you can actually keep that connection and form a friendship, I just think it's really special. So I'm so glad that we continued our conversations.
Yes, continue to grow. Let our friendship bloom and grow.
That's right.
For those who don't know you, as we've had a lot of new listeners join since, you were on for 2 years, can you give us a little bit of insight into the incredible interior design business and brand that you've built?
Yes. So I own Uploft Interior Design, and we specialize in affordable flat rate packages. And I love helping people who never thought they could afford an interior designer make their space fabulous, whether they're doing it on their own by listening to my podcast. I give away all my tips for free. People send in their listener questions with their pictures, and I design their room on the spot. So we do that. And then, of course, at my firm, people hire us to come by and do something a little bit more in depth, or do it from soup to nuts in terms of even returning with our team of handymen and putting it all together and watching the wallpaper application and all of that. So it's really fun. But my whole premise, whether it's the podcast, my books, or my firm, is just making beautiful living accessible.
Accessible, right? I mean, your book, Affordable Interior Design, and your podcast, Affordable, is also called Affordable Interior Design. So
Yeah.
I love that you're all about that, because I feel like for us, for houseplant people, obviously we come to plants, and particularly houseplants, to create this kind of indoor jungle aesthetic or to bring life inside. So obviously we care about aesthetics indoors, but sometimes I'm like, I'd kind of rather spend the money on my plants than on my couch or on, a lot of fancy light fixtures. So I love the affordable aspect of it. And something that I see with a lot of plant people is we can become kind of hoarders. We don't know how to arrange all the plants that we have in a beautifully aesthetic way. Like for me, it started with, bringing a few houseplants in to bring that life into my home. And then all of a sudden, cut to 3 months later, and I had like 60 plants on every single surface. And I think our heart is in it, but sometimes the interior design aspect, we have to catch up. So I'd love to just grill you today about some interior design basics and weave in a little bit of houseplant stuff, but you're just such an amazing educator. I want you to help us elevate our existing plant collections and interior style. How do you find your interior style? Like if I am about to go and design a new house or redesign a room, how do you even kind of start the process?
Yes. Well, the first thing you want to do, especially if interior design is not your first love, right? If you feel like this is a realm that you don't fully understand or that you want to learn more about, but you don't feel like a master, then the first thing you want to do is find other people's looks or aesthetics that resonate with you. Because you can have an idea when you go in a store of, oh, I like that piece and I like that piece. Or more commonly, my clients know what they don't like. But when you put all those things together that they like, it may not be cohesive, right? So they might like lots of different things from lots of different styles, and it may look like a mishmash. Or they may be reusing a lot of items from other places or other people that have, given them things that they no longer use. And then it turns into this kind of eclectic jumble.
Not the vibe.
Not the vibe.
Yeah.
Not the vibe. And so then they feel like, well, what do I do now? Do I just go to Home Goods and layer on some accessories? And the answer is no, you must start with the vision. And if the vision is not yours because you're not into interior design, then go online to Apartment Therapy, to house.com, any websites that you particularly enjoy, like West Elm or Pottery Barn, and look at pictures of entire rooms that you like. Not of one thing like a chair that you would love from World Market, but instead that entire room so that you can get a sense of what you like holistically. Then once you have 5 to 10 pictures, maybe you've put them on Pinterest or maybe you've just dragged them to your desktop. But once you have them, look for that through line. And sometimes you might not know what the through line is, so you can read the descriptions from the website. So if you went on House, there's usually a little description of the style of the space or sort of the theme of the space. And so you can read there, oh, look, I'm really gravitating towards bohemian. I didn't even expect that. Lots of people who own plants gravitate towards bohemian.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yes, that's just a little tip and why I shouted that one out particularly. But there's lots of bohemian fans, there's lots of eclectic fans, and you really want to decide what the style will be. But you can't stop there. So once you've picked one style word for your room, then the next thing that you need to pick is your emotional word. So I call this the 2-word phrase method of designing. You've looked at all your pictures, you've determined what the style is, whether it's bohemian, nautical, contemporary, industrial, right? You've picked one style word. But then how do you want to feel in that space? And this is why I design room by room, Maria, versus doing a whole house in one style and feel, is because how I want to feel in my primary bedroom is very different than how I want to feel in my TV room. It's very different than how I want to feel in my office. So even if my style word remains the same, which I don't think it needs to throughout your house, I don't think you need to have one style. In fact, my bedroom is transitional in terms of style, and my living room is very mid-century modern.
Interesting. Can you run us through? I mean, we did do a whole episode on this, but that was a 90-minute episode for people who, I mean, I'm even sitting here. So I am the like dummy interior person. Like, I don't know the words. For me, even going on Pinterest is too overwhelming. I actually love the suggestion you said to go on house or apartment therapy, because for me, Pinterest is even like too much. I'm like, I don't know what I like. There's too many options. There's too many photos. I don't know who to trust. Can you just give high level the most popular styles that you see, like a little bit of a descriptor?
Yeah. So the most popular style is called contemporary. And contemporary means whatever is happening right now. So whatever you're seeing in the stores, whatever people are generally doing. And so it can be kind of a loosey-goosey word. I actually hate it when people say my style is contemporary, because you see lots of things happening now. And what is that true summary, right? It really depends on the store you shop at. So for me, using the style word contemporary, even though it is the most popular, can also be the most vague. Well, let's talk about transitional that I just discussed.
Yeah, like what? I've never heard that before.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a very popular style. And the reason is because it meshes two styles together. So it meshes contemporary, what's happening right now, which generally, if you guys want to know what's happening right now, is kind of a watered down mid-century modern. We're going for clean lines, organic shapes, not too much ornate detailing. That's kind of what's happening right now. And it's been happening for about 7 years, in my opinion, in this way. That's how we're kind of summarizing contemporary. And then with transitional, you layer on traditional. So traditional is more of that like old school. It does have ornate carvings. It does have filigree. It does have that chunkier type upholstery. It does have more floral pattern. So you're fusing those two to make transitional. And it's quite popular with people who like that cozier, almost Nancy Meyer movie style, but don't want it to look dated or like it came from a legit antique store. So they do want it to look like, it's of the now. And these are pieces that they recently purchased. So that is transitional. That is my primary bedroom in a nutshell. Is that TMI? We're just going to get
No, I love that.
Is my primary bedroom. And then, mid-century modern is huge right now in terms of a style. And it's not only because people really loved that tapered leg and clean line and area furniture that wasn't as clunky and chunky, but also because it's what's happening now. It's what you can find in stores. And so that tends to, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the influencer being the store or the person who purchases, right? And that's all they have to choose from. So it's kind of an interesting vantage point as a designer to be like, what starts these trends or what starts the movements, right? So mid-century modern is a huge one right now. And a lot of people are, of course, loving those vintage items, and as well as mixing pieces from room and board, which are very mid-century modern inspired, but people are going to Cherish. People are going to APT Deco. They're going to their local antique shops and finding those legit mid-century modern pieces and layering them together. So that's pretty fun. And another one that's huge right now because it's summer is coastal, right? So sometimes people even just layer on an additional style seasonally, right? So if they did have a pretty contemporary, basic style in their room that doesn't generally lead one way really strongly, then they might layer in some coastal pieces so that it has more of that summer seasonal vibe when the time comes, especially if you live near water. I live in Connecticut. It's kind of a beachy area. So everybody's looking to layer on that during the summer months.
And then you mentioned for plant people, you see a lot of plant people have the boho aesthetic. Are there any other aesthetics you see that people who tend to like plants, like are there any more nature-based aesthetics that we should keep our eyes out for?
People who like Scandinavian design. So even though Scandinavian is known to be quite minimal, it does have a lot of natural elements, including light, untreated wood, and plants are just the perfect accessory. Scandinavian style tends to be pretty devoid of colors. And when I speak about color, even as we talk about it later today, I'm talking Roy G. Biv. You know that guy? Yeah. So those are colors found in the rainbow, not colors like beige or gray or white, which are actually neutrals in the world of design and not considered quote unquote colors.
Interesting. Okay.
So Scandinavian design is pretty much devoid of color. So people almost rely on plants to give Scandinavian design that pop of color, even though, of course, the color is typically green or maybe some moments of a floral color. But Scandinavian design is big on plants. The other one is eclectic design, kind of that mishmash. But I would say eclectic design is the most difficult style to master without a designer.
The summer brings tons of opportunities to give gifts, whether it's for weddings, graduations, showers, anniversaries, holidays, and what better gift to give someone you love than a personalized Wind River wind chime? Plus, you don't need to leave your house to shop for one. Wind River Chimes will deliver the most magical, most thoughtful, and personalized gift straight to the door of your beloveds, because when you use the code GROWINGJOY at checkout, you get a free engraving on any engravable wind chime, so you can personalize it for your loved one with a special saying, a memorable date, or a name. For over 35 years, Wind River Chimes has been passionately pursuing harmony by delivering wind chimes that help create a peaceful, soothing, and restful environment. And now that we are in the swing of gardening season, enjoy the perfect gardening weather with the perfectly calming and inspiring sound of Wind River Chimes. Every night in the summer, I sit on my balcony garden with a drink, just listening to the chimes in the wind, looking at the stars. It's a freaking dream, and it makes an amazing gift for yourself or for someone else. So all you have to do is to go to windriverchimes.com and use code GROWINGJOY at checkout to get a free engraving on any engravable wind chime. They have options of colors and sounds. You can just go on the website and click through and listen to all the beautiful sounds. It's so relaxing. Get it engraved with that personalized name or anniversary date or special message. Head to windriverchimes.com to listen to all of the melodious options and use code GROWINGJOY for a free engraving. So let's talk about houseplants on an episode on interior design and the importance of potting our houseplants up in high quality organic potting mixes. And when we talk about that, we have to discuss my favorite potting mix company, Espoma Organic, who I have been using pretty much exclusively for the last 5 or 6 years with all of my houseplants and my outdoor plants. So if you don't know Espoma Organic, they are a 4th generation family owned and operated company dedicated to making safe indoor and outdoor gardening products for people, pets, and the planet. Planting your plants in high quality potting mix is a massive key for success. So your plants get the aeration, the nutrients, and the anchoring that they need. And I love that Espoma's line of potting mixes really does this and sets our plants up for success. So for houseplants, I put most of my houseplants in their general potting mix, but they do have specific mixes for African violets that retain moisture. They also have a citrus succulent mix for your cacti and your succulents. You can also mix and match soil. So I'll put their orchid bark in my potting mix if I'm potting like epiphytic aroid. So if you want to feel fancy, you can mix and match their mixes, or you can just put all of your houseplants in their potting mix and you'll be very happy. That's what I did for many years. I also recently have been adding biotone fertilizer. So it's their starter plant food, their starter fertilizer that you plant when outdoors, when you're potting up your like gardens for the summer, you put it in with the transplants that you're planting up. I've been putting their Biotone Starter Plus in with my houseplants in an attempt to help my houseplants when I repot, like establish faster, grow happier, healthy roots, uptake water. So I've been doing an experiment with that and I will report back. Not only does Espoma Organic have amazing potting mixes, amazing fertilizers for both indoor and outdoor plants, but their manufacturing facilities are 100% solar powered and they have bio-preferred packaging. To learn more about Espoma Organic's indoor and outdoor products, visit espoma.com to see where your local Espoma dealers are. Or you can click the link in the show notes to go to my Amazon storefront for Espoma, where I've curated my top favorite picks that I use all the time on my plants. Is that Justina Blankenly? Is she eclectic or would she be boho?
You know, I am not sure. Is it bad that I don't know who that is?
Oh, Jungalo. You know Jungalo? That's her website.
No, I don't. You always introduce me to new cool people, by the way.
Well, because she's Planty, but it's...
Oh, she's Planty? Okay. I have just learned to be Planty after talking to you, and my plants are Trader Joe's exclusive. Oh, she's fun. She's fun. I would say she's totally boho.
Yeah, she's boho. I feel like she like originated boho, like she's one of the OGs, or she popularized boho.
It's so funny because they were just scrolling through her stuff on her website. I just pulled it up so that way I could speak professionally with you. And her book is called like The New Bohemia or something.
The New Bohemians. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I own that book.
Okay, yes. But she is totally boho with her style, having a lot of world inspired elements, having a lot of elements, right? Incorporating tassels, incorporating maybe hand dyed fabrics like batiks and ecats, having this kind of handmade ceramic pottery all over.
Is there like a clean boho aesthetic? Because I find even this weekend, I'm doing this balcony garden redesign and I wanted like a cozy nook. And I just kept everything I was clicking on and liking had boho as like a subdivide. Like I love an egg chair. I love a rattan, but I don't love the cluttery, overlapping, mismatched patterns, like chaos of a boho. Is there a transitional boho that's like boho meets, I don't know, mid-century modern, like Scandinavian? I mean, those are like, I feel polar opposites, but how would I go about that?
Well, I'm really glad that you brought this up because this is where my rules come in, Maria.
Okay, tell me.
Rules that I espouse on my podcast and in my book. So I'm gonna lay a rule on you, Maria. You may never, ever, ever have two styles in one room. So you had just mentioned I really want bohemian, but I also love the minimalist nature of Scandinavian. But what you do with my 2-word phrase method is one word is your style and the other word is the feel. So you love bohemian style, but you want it to feel minimal. You want it to feel clean. You want it to feel easy.
Light, fresh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, perfect. So whichever, words have different meanings for each of us. So what means minimal to me might mean stark and austere to you. What means fresh to you might mean like all white to me. Right. So you have to find your own feeling word. The designer cannot do this for you. And only you know which word really encompasses what you're trying to say while you're doing bohemian. I think minimal for me is kind of what you were getting at. But this is why I never share my 2-word phrase with my clients. I always make them one, but I don't share it with them because what it means to me, like I said, to be minimal, to be fresh, to be color filled, to be fun, to be playful is totally different than what it means to a client. So I got in trouble as an early designer sharing my 2-word phrase with the clients. And then they're like, I'm not rockabilly. I'm not,
right. That's not me.
Passionate. I'm not like, I don't want that word on me. And it was perfect for what I could see in them. So really find 2 words that resonate with you deeply. Don't go with just the first word that comes to mind, but really think about how do I want to feel in this space? How do I want everybody else to feel? Right. In my family room, we're always having games on in terms of on the TV or on the coffee table. We're always having snacks. There's lots of different things to do. I want people to come in and immediately start engaging with each other. So that room, I want to feel playful.
So what are the 2 words for your bedroom versus the 2 words for your living room?
So I was just referencing my family room with the playful, but my living room it's very interesting mishmash. So I live in a very old home that has a lot of touches that look very antique and ornate. And I do not like to ignore the architecture when I'm designing. It would be fun to just do whatever I want all the time, but then you're not really honoring the space. And in a home like mine that has a lot of personality, you're almost dishonoring the space by ignoring or not embracing what's going on architecturally. So because my house is filled with filigreed things and ornate carved woods, I need to embrace the old, even though that's not typically my vibe. So my 2-word phrase, that was a long way of getting there, Maria. But my 2-word phrase, I love mid-century modern, so that is my style. But my entire home has these ornate little things that are old, and it definitely reads old. And I want to incorporate a lot of antiques, but I don't want to call it traditional. So I'm doing fancy. So mid-century modern, as we know, tends to be very simplified, very clean lines, not very ornate, not very intricate in any way. And it can look a little bland or even boring. And so when I'm thinking about styling a mid-century modern sofa that has the tapered legs, the clean lines, the tufting, and I want to do something fancy, I'm going to do pillows with tassels, maybe even like a brocade fabric. Next to the couch, in front of the couch, I have this really over the top gilded coffee table that has this ornate carved base with a marble top. And, so that juxtaposition of that super simple gray sofa with this really ornate kind of conversation piece in front of it that's obviously very old. So I'm constantly layering those two things. And when I'm out shopping, I'm thinking, is this mid-century modern or is it fancy? And if it's not one of those two words, it does not come home with me when I'm designing for my living room. So that's how people can shop at places like TJ Maxx or walk into a place like World Market or even IKEA and really put blinders on to the things that aren't going to work.
Because if it's boho, you're not bringing it home because it's not fancy and it's not mid-century modern.
Or even if it's transitional, but I'm not designing my bedroom that day.
Right.
Like, even though I really like this piece and would use it in other places, I need to stay focused on what's going to work for this room and what's going to feel cohesive here. So when you're out shopping, the better you can know yourself and your connection to those two words, the faster you can determine this will work, this won't.
There's a perfect parallel here with shopping for plants with your plant parent personality. I have the plant parent personality test on my website, and you need to know what plants work for your lifestyle. And if you know that you're going to kill a fern because you're a low maintenance plant parent, when I say, like, when you go to the garden center, you don't look at the ferns. Like, you're going to have heartbreak with the ferns. Go look at the low maintenance, hardy houseplants and keep your blinders on. So I do think that's interesting. And the more almost structure you can give yourself, actually, the easier it is to shop because you're not flooded with all of the options.
I also think it makes it more fun. A lot of people think, oh, there's boundaries on my shopping. There's things I can't look at the plant store. But then, with confidence that the things I buy will be a good investment, that it's going to work. There's more confidence there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus just going and kind of doing whatever you want. And a lot of people, at least when they're shopping for home decor, lack the confidence. They know what they like, what they don't like, as I mentioned before, but it's just that extra step of like, I'm confident this will work. That's missing oftentimes.
Yeah. Or even just the lack of even understanding of, is this transitional or is this antique or is this boho, Okay, so let's say that we're designing a room. Let's go with something that a planty person would want. So let's go with a living room that's boho minimal.
Okay. This sounds familiar. I think I know a planty person who might like this style. Okay.
Right. Let's go for boho minimal. So what are then the steps because it sounds like there's a lot of preparation before you go shopping that's important. So what are then the steps? What are some design principles and rules? Because I love a rule that you would take when designing a room to make sure it doesn't look like a cluttered hoarder jungle mess.
Yes. So after you've established the two-word phrase, which it sounds like you have, and you're ready to start shopping, the first piece you want to shop for, or you want to think about if you might already own it, right, is an inspiration piece. Now, an inspiration piece is one piece, whether it's a piece of artwork, a rug, drapes,
Can it be a plant?
No. Here's why.
No.
This is what you need. There's two criteria. You love rules, and I love rules too. So there's two criteria for a good inspiration piece. The first is that it must contain 3 or more Roy G. Biv colors.
Oh, okay.
That is why it cannot be a plant. You probably know plants that contain 3 or more Roy G. Biv colors, but I do not. Yeah. They're probably few and far between. And my plant parent description is like low maintenance or neglectful.
You're low maintenance. Yeah.
Neglectful? Is there like a parent who should be turned into parent services? Or yeah, I'm that plant parent. Luckily, I'm not that way with my children.
No judgment. I still love you.
So anyway, so there's that. And once you've established that your piece, whatever it is, has 3 or more Roy G. Biv colors found in the rainbow prism spectrum, then the next thing you want to do is make sure that that piece is going to be prominently placed in the room. Because say you pick an amazing pillow to be your inspiration piece, but you put it over on an armchair that's off to the side that people aren't seeing, right? The inspiration piece is going to inspire the color palette for the entire room. It's going to really set the stage for all the colors you'll use, whether it's your accents, your wall paint, everything like that, your upholstery. So you want to make sure that it's front and center in the space. So maybe it's the artwork over the fireplace. Maybe it's the rug in the center of the room.
Can I ask one follow-up question?
Of course.
Because it's also not the largest, because what I would think is, okay, let me center it around my couch because it's the largest thing in my living room and it's probably one of the more expensive things in my living room. But normally a couch is only one color. So the couch is not the inspiration piece either.
It certainly could be, but it rarely is. And I would not recommend that because a couch needs to last you, 7 to 15 years, ideally. And one tone on the couch makes it easier for you to change your mind, change things out. When you commit to such a large pattern on such a large item, it can be risky.
Can really go south.
Yeah. So I recommend a rug. A rug is a really good one, or a piece of art. But a lot of people don't feel that they have a piece of art that really sums up everything they'd want to say in the room, or that they want to have that large or that much of a commitment to. Artwork, for some reason, with my clients is a very hot button issue. People either love it or they're terrified of it. So rugs are a softer place to kind of land in terms of inspiration piece. But the key with this piece, the only thing that it's doing is giving you the color palette for the room. All right. It doesn't have to be like the style, like say you picked coastal, it does not have to represent a beach scene in any way, right? So just kind of a guideline there. But you've got that piece, and then you're going to pick 3 Roy G. Biv colors out of it. You could do 2. I'm open to 2 if you're not a person who loves color. Most of my clients are almost as afraid of color as they are of art. Just going to put that out there. So you guys might be feeling that too. And if you are, I'm willing to go down to 2 Roy G. Biv colors and 1 neutral. But basically, you're going to pick 3 from that inspiration piece to use for all the colors in your space. Now, of course, your space will have a foundation of neutrals, like the wall paint is oftentimes a neutral. The sofa upholstery is oftentimes a neutral. You'll remember those neutrals are the grays, the beiges, the whites, the creams. So there can be neutrals in the space, but then you're going to layer on some color, whether it's with throw pillows, blankets, bookends, accents on the bookshelf, things like that.
Or could your couch or your chairs, like I love a green velvet couch. Like if I pick Roy G. Biv, green is one of my colors, could I have the green couch?
Definitely. In fact, you would have to pick green as one of your Roy G. Biv colors if you were going to do a green couch.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Because that's like such a large focal point of okay, cool. Okay.
Yes. So ideally you would do 3 colors. A lot of my clients are afraid, and then we just do 2.
Okay.
But when you're using these colors throughout the space, you want to make sure to use them in different amounts. So when you're talking about that emerald green sofa, I wouldn't want the same amount of emerald green as I have of navy as I have of yellow. Say those are my 3 colors, okay? Emerald green, navy, yellow. That would be a great mid-century modern vibe, FYI. But anyway, if you pulled out those jewel tones, you'd want to use them in different amounts. So I use one of the colors 60% of the time when I'm using color. So let's just say it's that emerald green, because as you mentioned, having an emerald green sofa is a big element.
And I'm going to have a lot of green plants in the living room as well. So let's go with green as being the primary.
I consider green plants a neutral.
Oh, okay. Fabulous. Okay.
So green plants can go in any room regardless of your 60-30-10 colors.
But the pots that they're in.
Oh, yes.
Has to go in that, because I feel like for a lot of plant parents, you don't keep, that's like one of the main houseplant styling rule that I give is you have to have an anchor for all of your pots or it's going to look so chaotic.
What does this mean, anchor pot? Tell me more.
Oh, an anchor color or an anchor, like all of my pots are terracotta because I used to have a white pot, a pink pot, a blue striped pot, a this pot, a that pot. And it just like looked so chaotic. Like I had no like anchor of the pot collection. And because I have so many pots, I have so many plants.
Right.
It just looked like so chaotic. So now all my pots are terracotta or white. And then I do have a few pops of blush, but
that is interesting.
Yeah. Cause it can get chaotic real quick.
Yeah. I'm even thinking of my current pot collection and now I'm Oh my gosh, I love this idea because I almost start to love my pots more than my plants because they last
Definitely.
longer. Let's
Hmm.
let's be
Totally.
clear. So I feel a
Totally.
strong connection to a lot of pots, but I'm unable to use quite a few because they don't go with the room.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is really an awakening. Okay.
Yeah. We have to factor in because maybe I would choose all if, so sorry, what did you say? So if green is the 60%, what are the other, and let's just go with the palette you went with. So green, navy, and yellow. So how would we break those percentages down?
Right. So say you were doing the emerald green with the sofa. You might also do it with the drapes because those are two huge elements in the room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that almost takes care of your 60. Then your 30 could be that navy. So I might have a pair of armchairs with navy. And the navy could have a pattern with yellow or something like that. I do love chairs to have a pattern, even though I typically keep that sofa a solid. So anyway, your navy could be those chairs. It could be a centerpiece bowl on the coffee table. It could be a little poof under a console. And then that 10% could be the yellow. So it could be bookends. It could be a vase with flowers or a pot for a plant.
Maybe it's the pots. Maybe the 10% is the pots.
Well, I wouldn't want to like keep it all pots. That seems a little formulaic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pots and. But certainly pots would be a great 10% with the bookends, with the, cash po, with the whatever, right? But you just want to think about it in different doses. And the fun thing about this is when you get tired of yellow, you can easily switch out that 10%. Or if I'm kind of tired of green, I'll just take down those drapes, throw up some blue ones, and I can swap my 60 and 30. So I'm often doing that when I get kind of sick of something. It's hard to completely lose your 60%, I'll tell you that much. But you can easily flip it with the 30. So make sure you like your 60 because that's a big commitment. But I tell you what, in my past home, I've only been in this home for 2 years and there's been so much to design that I haven't had to redesign much or even spruce anything up. But in my last house, I was constantly flipping out the 10% because I love color. And the inspiration piece I picked was this rug that had like every rainbow color possible, except for teal and purple. So I was really strict about no teal or purple. But anyway, so I would constantly flip out that 10%. It was red for 1 year.
But you can't break that 10% into 3.33%. Like you got to stick to the three colors. Like if you have a rug that has a bunch of colors, you can't just pull every single color.
Actually, you can. So
Okay.
You've obviously read my book, Maria, and I'm very impressed. So I do have some people, including myself, who are not afraid of color. It's rare. And most people, it's not really on trend right now to use a ton of color. But there are people who love color like me. There are people who feel really limited when I say you can only pull 3 colors. So the place you can go crazy is in your 10%. And you can use any color found in the inspiration piece. But remember that rug I told you from my last house that had every color under the sun except for teal and purple? I could not bring any.
No teal, 0% teal and purple.
Exactly. Because it was not found in the inspiration piece. So again, you still want that cohesive look. You don't want your room to look like a curiosity shop, to look like you walked into an antique mall or into a thrift store. You need a focus and you need some boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But the more colors your inspiration piece has, the more you can pivot and play. So I am always trying to get people to pick an inspiration piece that has a lot going on because you'll just have more options in the future.
And you can shift your style within the framework of that without having to completely redesign an entire room, which can be expensive. I love this idea.
You can shift your color palette. Now, shifting your style is a whole nother conversation. But I wanted to touch on something you said earlier that I was like, oh, that's so smart. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So you mentioned before that you love bohemian, but you want it to feel cleaner, less cluttered, things like that. And you're like, how do I do that when these two things feel so opposite? And I actually think the most interesting rooms have very opposite style words and feeling words because it's that juxtaposition that like, wait, I would expect this. And instead I'm seeing this that makes it not only so intriguing and more of that conversation piece, but also really tailors it to your personality. It's what makes this Maria's bohemian from anybody else's. I think the more disparate, the more unusual, the more kind of unique your words are, the more complex of a room you're going to get.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
What other rules do you have for me? What other rules and guidelines? I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to apply all of this to my house. What other rules and guidelines do you have?
well, those are the big ones to get started. When you're looking
Okay.
at the room, you really need to kick it off answering those questions. What's my two-word phrase? What's my inspiration piece? What's my color palette? Like, if you haven't answered those three questions, you may not go shopping. I'm sorry. Because otherwise, you're going to buy a whole bunch of crap you'll have to return. Just keeping it real, guys, keeping it real. So then the next thing is kind of looking at the proportions of the space and deciding, what furniture goes in there and then layering on the artwork. I always pick out the furniture after I've done the layout first. So artwork, drapes, accessories typically comes later for me. And I pick those foundational items. Say we were doing that living room, right? I would want the couch. I would want the chairs, the coffee table, the bookcase.
Do you go based on like, okay, this room is this big, so it needs a couch this big, and then you start looking at couches based on size? Or do you start looking at couches based on your two words and then figure, like, how do you approach that?
Yes. So first thing, after I've answered those three questions that I talked about, is I tackle the floor plan. So I use a software, people who aren't as into interior design might use graph paper or whatever, right? But it is very important that you create the plan before you go shopping. So that way, I need a 72-inch long table, or I can have a sectional here, but it can't exceed 10 feet in length. Or I actually need a round table instead of a rectangular coffee table here. So you need to know what you're shopping for and that it will mathematically work. And that is why I love interior design. I don't know if plans are like this. Certainly when I go to Trader Joe's and just pick up 5 things randomly, it doesn't feel like this. But I love interior design because it's half art and half math. And I've always been interested in both. And when I was going to school, I always did really well at math, but I really loved art. But I kind of didn't want to abandon one for the other. And when I was like painting or doing theater, I felt like I was truly abandoning my math. And I was like, but wait, I love my math. So if you like using both sides of your brain, being an interior designer is such an amazing way to combine it, because I'm always like, I love this piece, but does it fit my measurements? Does it fit the scale of the space? Do I still have ample space for walkways and other things like this? So this is where it becomes a little bit more technical, right? Is kind of making sure you have the right floor plan. And of course, I have a system for that, but it's a little bit involved, Maria. It's involved. If they're interested in that, they should definitely head over to the podcast because I go through it a lot. But, you start creating a floor plan by asking yourself, what do I want to do in this room? What are sort of my priorities in terms of functions? And you make that list. So, for instance, in my living room, it's very important for us to have a puzzle table. Now, other people may not feel like that, right? But my husband needs a puzzle table. If I don't freaking have a puzzle table, it's going to be on the coffee table or, gosh forbid, the kitchen table. So we needed a puzzle table, and that was really high up in our priority list. Whereas for other people, I'm not going to prioritize that, but they're going to prioritize storage for all their books.
Yeah. I was just going to say shelving would be a big one for me. Yeah.
There you go. Or plant stands. Oh my goodness. And you have really made it tricky for me, because I used to say, in terms of that progression of the floor plan, start with the furniture, layer on the rugs, the lamps, etc., layer in the accessories, and lastly do plants. And then I heard one of your podcasts, and this felt like a really big moment for me where everything changed. Does anybody else have those life moments where you realize everything changed? You said on one of your podcasts, you were like, if you don't have your plant near sunlight, no matter how good it looks or how it's thriving, you're slowly killing your plant. I was like, oh my gosh. And I started to cry inside for all the plants in my house that were slowly dying, but looked great in that bookcase.
But as an interior designer, the beauty of that issue now that used to be a much bigger issue is there are so many aesthetic lights now that you could just swap out all of your floor lamps and just put a grow bulb in there and have it just be normal white light. There's a lot of good aesthetic solutions.
I don't know. I have yet to see a good one. You're going to have to take me aside and show me some good grow lamps, because for me, that's still an oxymoron.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, because that kind of lighting additionally, I don't know.
But it's also priority, right? Because like for me, my plants are one of my priorities. I guess they're not my design inspiration, but like I have these grow lights in my bookshelf. For me, I don't really care if the lights, like the plants in the bookshelf are the most important thing. I don't really care if the lights like aesthetically break rules because I'm like, well, my plants, I need to keep my plants alive and my plants are my priority. And so it works out, you know?
That's your puzzle table. I totally get it.
Exactly. Like it's my puzzle table. Totally. I love it. That's so funny.
Well, and then maybe for me, when I was redesigning my living room, because plants, believe it or not, have become a big part of my life, even though I spend very little time on them. I do love them very much and have them in every room. So, for me, it became, how can I get this plant closer to the windows? And then that became a priority when building my floor plan. Like, I want this plant to thrive. I want it to be really big, which means it's got to be in the corner near south. Yeah. So I just realized that I was going to have to move my plants. And so it kind of changed the order in which I do things for planty people, because I realized if plants are one of your priorities, I don't personally use grow bulbs yet. You're going to change my mind on that, I'm sure. Yes, please.
I'll change your mind. Yeah. I'll text you after this.
But, then they need some real estate in front of those windows, or they need a bookcase that faces the window or something like that. So that can be a good consideration when creating your priority list. But I always start by asking my clients, what do you want to do in this room? Because what I do in my living room is different than what you want to do, is different than what, Colleen wants to do or whatever. So we have to get a lot of clarity before we can make the floor plan. Because if I just assume that, puzzle table's your last priority and you're going to want book storage and seating and a bar and whatever, then it may not be really creating the best room for you, even if it's what you saw in the picture on Pinterest or whatever. Yeah.
Are there any egregious errors you see people making when it comes to art or wall stuff that we can learn from before we make them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My whole job is fixing people's bad mistakes.
Yeah, of course. But like someone that doesn't have an eye for design, like should the gallery wall be a certain width, or, what are the biggest errors you see people make when it comes to wall decor?
Well, a simple one for gallery walls is that you should always group, if you're doing a gallery wall that's meant to look organic and not symmetrical, you should always do an odd number of items in the gallery wall instead of an even number. When we do an even number, we're almost looking for symmetry or expecting it to kind of make sense in a way. And so many of my clients want that more organic, eclectic feel. So that's one for a gallery wall. I think empty shelves. So I think if you do have a bookcase, if you do have an étagère, if you do have floating shelves on your wall, you need to put some things on that. So that's kind of an obvious one, but it's something I see all the time. And it's something you even see in magazines or catalogs where people keep some of the shelves empty. And what I remind my clients is catalogs are doing that because you're trying to buy the bookcase. They don't want you to think about buying the stuff on top. They are showing you this picture with this relatively empty bookcase. So you buy the bookcase.
What if you don't have a lot of books? What if you put in clients' houses that looks really nice? Besides plants, obviously, plants on a bookcase are great. Yeah.
I was going to say plants, of course, pictures and picture frames. I also think about where the bookcase is. So if the bookcase is in a living dining combo space, maybe I would style part of it as a bar.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Right? I do baskets, like I just had a new baby, so I have baskets of toys on the bottom that she can pull down and that are all really kid friendly. And then up top, I have my pictures and my books. So I think of the bookcase as like a fluid place. For instance, I talked about that family room. We're always playing games. I do have a game cabinet, but I put our greatest hits on the bookcase and I style it in a cute little pyramid way. But that way we can just run over and pick up Trash Pandas or whatever we're currently playing and play quickly. So I think of the bookcase as kind of this living, breathing thing that works with the family versus just for display like a floating shelf. But yeah.
I love that. Any tips for people who are scared to get art?
Yes. First of all, you need to get it. I see so many people who have empty walls because they haven't found something that connects with them. They haven't found something that feels personalized or special. And the bottom line is sometimes it takes a while to find that piece. I myself, as a former fine arts painter, am very picky about my art. And I also don't want to spend a fortune. I'm not at the point where I'm a collector, but I am an appreciator. So that makes me picky and cheap. not a bad combo.
Yeah. Two great words. That's a pairing of two interesting words, picky and cheap.
There you go. There you go. So the thing with that is that you buy stopgaps. You buy pieces that are good enough for now so that you don't have a whole bunch of empty walls while you hunt for something more personal and meaningful. So I just bought an amazing stopgap from Frontgate.
What's that?
The stopgap is like a big piece of art. Frontgate is a store.
Oh, no. What's Frontgate? Oh, Frontgate is a store. Okay.
Yeah, they have a lot of good outdoor stuff too, by the way. Speaking of pots and planters, oh my gosh, I actually like Frontgate best for outdoor stuff. And it's why I was shopping there because we do a lot of outdoor patio furniture as well, but they have great indoor stuff too. So anyway, there was this piece of art on sale right after Christmas and it went perfectly with the color palette in my room. And it was big and I have this big wall, but did it have any personal meaning for me? No.
But it met with your standards of your 3 Roy G. Bivs of the inspiration piece, and it worked for the room. Okay.
And it was under $300. So when I find that perfect piece that moves me and that incorporates every dream I've ever had of a piece of art, then I will swap it out, right? And it won't feel like a huge investment. But in the meanwhile, these walls have something on them. You can even do something like a mirror as a stopgap. Not only will it reflect natural light.
Or a plant wall. You can put some really cool containers of plants on your wall.
I have had pros and cons. Tell me about this. When my clients are trying to irrigate their plant wall, they often miss and hurt the paint. Thoughts, feelings, techniques?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to buy the right planter. So I had a green wall when I lived in New York City, and it had like the special watering reservoir that made it. It's called Wally Grow for anyone interested. It's leak proof. People who install serious irrigation, like that's a whole nother level, and you do have to protect your wall. But there are like basically window boxes for living rooms that you can create that protect the wall. And we had our green wall up for multiple years and we didn't have issues with the paint, but you have to hand water, which can be tricky. Yeah. Hopefully in a year or so, there'll be a new product to the market with Growing Joy. Maybe that will solve that pain point.
You need a plant line, a whole thing. Yes.
Yeah. Working on it to be continued. But you can also, do shelving and then put plants on your shelving. Or they do have Wally Grow, I will say, is a great product.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, I have them in my closet, over this closet that I just renovated to be a grow house for all my plants. And my green wall was really successful there. But yeah, once you start getting into like serious irrigation, you really do have to protect the walls before you have to know what you're doing for sure.
Yeah, because I have seen some walls that have not only been destroyed by water, but also one that was covered in like mossy mold behind the planters. So anyway.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you don't have the inclination to maintain this, it can be. But I had this idea for your product line, Maria, that you should have like a curated pot collection of like 10 pots that all like maybe aren't all terracotta, but are like a mix or something. So I could just buy.
Mix that like look good together.
Yes.
And you could just buy a set of them.
Yes. Please.
Writing it down.
Please. I want like the Maria pot set.
I love it. Okay. To be continued.
Because I have realized now that I am creating some issues in my rooms. I mean, I'm pretty good, let me just say. But I'm thinking about my pots and wondering if it could be improved with the Maria.
Hopefully we will answer your dreams in the coming future.
We could have a collab, Maria, a pot collab.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. A pot collab. Let's see. What else? Talk to me about the bedroom. What can I do in the bedroom to make it cozy, to make it kind of feel like a hotel, like besides like getting nice sheets, but what are some things that really make a bedroom look like a cozy adult bedroom and not like a dorm room or that like first room in college that you're basically putting your bed in and like scraping together pennies to pay rent for?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing, I mean, it depends on your priorities in the bedroom. Right? Everybody has different bedroom priorities and not everybody's doing the same thing in the bedroom. But for me, I'm trying to create a restful space. I'm trying to create a romantic space at times. I'm trying to create like a soothing adult oasis. Right?
Yeah, like a respite for sure.
Yes. So the number one thing, in my opinion, is to have lighting that dims so that you can create your own experience. Sometimes I'm in there, like organizing my closet and cleaning out all my drawers. And sometimes I'm just reading on my Kindle, or sometimes I'm snuggling up with my husband and we're watching something on Netflix. So I want to have different types of lighting in that space for, kind of mood setting, if you will.
Different vibes. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So number one thing, put everything on dimmers. Even if your lamps, which typically don't come with dimmers or three-way switches, if it doesn't have that, you can get a plug-in dimmer switch. So just go to any local hardware store, even Amazon, and you can plug any lamp into a plug-in dimmer switch, and it will make anything fully dimmable as long as you're using the right bulb. So that's my number one tip. My number two tip, and something I see a lot of people forgoing, is not using a headboard. And there is no way to make your room look more dormtastic than to have
than just like a mattress pushed up against the wall.
Yeah, with like a couple standard pillows leaning on the paint. Like, no, headboards are so affordable. I mean, they really are. At Wayfair, you can get a great headboard for under $200 that will attach to your metal bed frame. Or you can do sort of a more mature, sophisticated thing and get a complete bed. Macy's has great prices on something like that has not only the headboard, but also has the base as well that attaches to the headboard. So it looks like a really complete feel. And then you don't have to use like a dust ruffle or something to hide the metal frame. So I'm a big fan of getting that anchor piece, that bed that has the beautiful headboard. And I do, in a primary bedroom, like to do something a little bit dramatic. So I do go higher typically. I also typically do a fabric headboard just because, oh my gosh, whenever we talk about designing a bedroom, there's so much double entendre. I just can't.
I know. I'm loving it. It's so funny.
So, I mean, I'm blushing already, but there's a lot of wood in a bedroom. Typically, the nightstands are wood if they have drawers.
Yeah.
Typically,
Okay.
the dressers are wood because they have drawers. So I try and avoid more hard elements and add some softness.
You like to add softness into the bedroom from a material standpoint.
Well, not just that, also romantic softness, but that's not that kind of podcast, Maria. We can have a very special bonus episode later. But yes, I do like soft and hard materials in a bedroom. So you want to balance that out. So I'm always thinking, if I have something like wooden nightstands, I definitely want maybe that tufted, softer, even like a nice soft color, maybe even to offset, right? Because softness is not only in the material itself, but it can be in the color, it can be in the pattern, right? Things with curves or things that aren't so linear and geometric tend to feel softer to our eye. So when you're thinking about these words like hard and soft and things like that, there really is kind of a 3D effect that we want to think.
Yeah. And when you think about biophilic design, which is something us plant people talk about a lot, it's all about like, there are no hard lines in nature. And so when you approach biophilic design, even if you're designing like a building, you're going to look to have less hard lines and more wavy, smoother lines, because in nature, you never see hard lines. So for us jungle folks, for us planty people also, if you want to design based off of a nature-based aesthetic, going for more smooth lines might be interesting as compared to hard lines.
That is so interesting. I always learn so much from you, Maria. Even when I'm on your podcast, I learn from you.
Well, I have so much to learn from you, Betsy. I mean, you and I have gone back and forth. I'm still in a furnished rental right now, so I'm going crazy because I have yet to really, it feels like I've yet to really develop my interior design style. And I can't wait for when we move and you and I get to really develop, like figure out what my style even looks like. And man, I can't wait for that day. This was so fun. Did we miss anything? Did we miss any like blaring principles or mistakes to be careful of before we wrap up?
Well, I'm sure we did, but we can just do another episode.
Yeah. So plant friends, if you like this episode that's more like interior design based, let me know and we could just bring Betsy on back. And more importantly, if you're into interior design, which I'm going to assume you are because you're into plants, you should go check out everything Betsy has to offer, including her podcast. So Betsy, where can people find you?
Yes. So they can find me at affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. And when you go to the website, a quiz will pop up and it'll determine your design style for you. It literally takes 2 minutes. I created it myself and it is the perfect way to decide what style are you. So if you were thinking to yourself while we were talking, am I Bohemian? Am I Scandinavian? Just go to my website, affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast, and you can take that quick quiz.
Okay, I'm going to take it right now.
It's very fun. I already took your plant parent quiz a long time ago. I cannot remember what I was, but
I know. I think I took your quiz a long time ago too, but I'm like, I bet my style has changed. So I'm going to go retake it and I will put what I am in the intro. Love you, friend. So thankful for our yin and yang, our perfectly paired skill sets and zones of genius. You know, we're two peas in a pod. So yeah, everybody go check out Betsy's podcast. It's so good. And also your episodes are much shorter than mine. It's like much more quicker to digest, right? Your episodes are like what, 20 to 40 minutes long?
20 or 18 to 25, I would say.
Yeah, super short. So it's a perfect like wake up in the morning, listen on a walk or whatever, or on a commute. All right. Well, until next time, my friend.
Yes. Until next time. So good to see you. And I'm going to have you on my podcast very soon.
Yes. So go head over there so you don't miss it.
That's right. If you want to hear even more Maria, I love it when she comes on my podcast to share all of her genius. Good talking to you.
Oh, thanks, Betsy. I love Betsy. She's such a good educator. She really breaks it down. And for me and my boneheaded brain, when it comes to interior design, like I need rules. I need principles. I need to be told what to do, and then I need to execute on it. Or I need to be told what to do and realize that that doesn't feel good, and then I need to break those rules. But I just love how easy she makes interior design and how fun she makes it and simple, right? Like it's not brain surgery. And it can be fun and it doesn't need to be stressful. And for someone like me where it's very stressful, I really appreciate Betsy. So if you are interested in learning more, you should go check out her podcast, Affordable Interior Design. It's so awesome. She also has a book, Affordable Interior Design, which is wonderful. She has courses on her website. You can go check her out. She's the best. I cannot wait to move in the next 6 months so Betsy can help me design my house and I get to not live in furnished rentals anymore. I cannot wait for this moment, plant friends. But anyway, enough about me. I hope this episode was helpful. I hope that you related to it. Please let me know if you want more of these kind of houseplant adjacent conversations, like episodes on interior design or episodes on crafting or, you know, stuff that we do with houseplants because it makes sense, but it's not like an explicit houseplant care episode. Or if all you want is houseplant care episodes, please message me and let me know that. I'm Maria at growingjoywithmaria.com. But I hope this episode was helpful. It is all inspired to help you keep growing joy. Plant friend, thank you for tuning in today. It means so much to me that I get to be part of your planty journey. If you like what you heard, make sure you're subscribed to the show so you never miss an episode. We have so many incredible interviews and solo episodes on incredible houseplant and gardening topics that you will not want to miss this year. And while you're over there in the podcast player subscribing, why don't you click over to the review section of Growing Joy with Plants and leave us a review? Reviews are tremendously helpful for the growth of the podcast, so thanks in advance. If you're looking for more opportunities to grow as a plant parent with Growing Joy content, we've got so many options for you. First, I highly recommend you taking the Plant Parent Personality Test. It's free, it's super fun, it takes 3 minutes to complete. At the end of the test, you're going to get your plant parent personality profile and a curated list of plants, projects, and podcast episodes that are right up your alley, tailored just for you and your lifestyle, inspired by your results. The links are in the show notes. If you're looking to uplevel your plant parent game, I have so many free downloads on my website that I think could help you, like the Understanding Natural Light download or 9 different ways to green up your office space. If you'd like to support the show monetarily and help me bring the show to as many people as possible for free, you can head to our Patreon link in the show notes to learn more about our offerings. And finally, I invite you to come hang out with me and continue the planty conversation on social media on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Growing Joy with Maria. My DMs are always open if you have requests for topics or ideas for the show. Thank you again for listening. It is truly my honor and delight to help you keep blooming and keep growing joy.